Okay. Hey everyone, I hope you're doing well. I'm sorry for the late stream start. Just a second. Okay. So this live stream will be about this month's integrity challenge. We did one in I think the stream before the last one. Uh, so before actually starting diving into the challenge, I would like to thank my friends who shared the live stream, the people who liked my posts. Uh, Thank you also for the kind messages that I have received. And this stream was actually planned to be done in Arabic, like Tunisian as usual, but unfortunately, I just posted the link yesterday on LinkedIn, and then CryptoCat shared the stream. So actually, we might have foreign people today watching the stream, and I just decided to start. Also, I would actually start doing the streams in English uh, from from now on. So thanks a lot for CryptoCat, Jonah Burgess. Uh, I hope I have spelled your name correctly. Thank you for sharing the live stream. He shared it on LinkedIn. He actually also shared it on Twitter, on the Integrity Twitter page here. And if you don't know CryptoCat, he's quite well known in the YouTube and like bug bounty community. This is his YouTube channel. I would post it in the chat if you are interested. He got content about binary exploitation, some reverse engineering, penetration testing, Active Directory, hack the box, stuff like that. Make sure to take a look and subscribe. All right. I would also say, like just, just like last stream, if you enjoy watching the content, if you want to support me, you are free to leave me a tip on this website, bakshish.com. For those who doesn't know it, it's just a Tunisian. It's like a website that helps Tunisian content creators to receive donations and stuff like that. So yeah, I will also share the link to my bakshish. Oh, thank you, bro. Sorry, I didn't mean to make it Chinese language. I actually thought about changing the language even before you have uh, shared the link, so definitely planned. Thank you again. So I think we could just start the live stream right now. So Integrity's August challenge got 36 solves. There are 9 write-ups available. So congratulations for the ones who solved it. For Jorian, who got the first blood. I also have won. I just got lucky and won the winners raffle for this month. Um, and yeah, you could take a look at all the write-ups they have published and everything on the Twitter's page. Okay. Also, just before, sorry, I've talked too much before starting the stream. CryptoCat have also made a video on YouTube solving his challenge because he made the challenge. So you could also watch his video. It's very entertaining. Okay. We could close the tabs right now and start talking about real business. So I got the challenge already open on my browser. Thanks CryptoCat for creating the challenge. It's a cool challenge that involves chains between client-side bugs and one logic bug in order to achieve the cross-site scripting. We'll have to walk through on the challenge today. I will try my best at explaining the different parts of the challenge and the different bugs that we encounter. And I would also make sure to just leave tips along the way for everyone that is like that is new to these things or whatever. So they have shared the source code for the challenge, and we have a link to the challenge website, which seems just like some note keeper website. overlay بتاع بخشيش والله ما فهمتك يا عادي. Which seems like a website that would store your notes safely. So this is the homepage. We could try to log in, and there is some registration here. I would zoom just a little bit more. Okay, so if we try to register, I would just make an account, and now we have access to some other places. I like to always start doing dynamic analysis on like every type of challenge, whether it's web or binary exploitation or reverse engineering. When you donate, sorry, I haven't mentioned this. When you donate, a message wouldn't appear on the stream because the platform requires a premium subscription in order to connect between YouTube and Bakshish. So if you have donated, just leave a message and I will give you special thanks. Also, special thanks to the people who donated for the last stream, Jileni and Laimona. I mean Sisi. Thank you so much for the donations. All right. As I said, I would just start by doing dynamic analysis on the challenge, and then we would take a look at the source code and analyze it in a smooth way, I would call it, because it's very heavy. So we could create a note, we could view the note, and trying to take a look if somebody has donated. Yes. All right. IWD has donated. Thank you so much for the donation. Keep going, talented guy. Thank you so much. All right, back to the stream again. Okay, so we could create a note, we could view the note, or we could report the note. And when you see some report page, you must think that this is an XSS challenge. I'm not talking about Intigriti because Intigriti publishes XSS challenges most of the time. But when you see a report endpoint, you must think that this involves some client-side bugs, most commonly some XSS. And we also got some contact form, but we don't care. So we would start by creating a note here. I would just put, well, I will actually try to put some XSS payload in the content, because why not? Because maybe the create node endpoint is actually vulnerable to XSS or whatever. Like we could even just make some HTML injections, just some blind dynamic analysis that might help later on. And once you click on the create node button, a node is created, and you get its ID, and you have a button that will redirect you to the page of the node. So this is the node I have typed, and sadly there is actually no XSS. You also could see that the on-error attribute that I have typed here got removed. So maybe there is also some kind of sanitizer. So it's actually so good to make assumptions along the way, because making assumptions would help you when you are doing dynamic analysis and making the assumptions. It's actually very helpful, because after making the dynamic analysis and going to the static analysis and you start to read the code, the assumptions you made in the dynamic analysis process would pop up in your head when you are reading the code, and you will start connecting the different points and the different assumptions you have made. They might be true, they might be wrong, but it's actually very helpful. It's my point of view, it's how I do it. I'm not sure if it will work for you or not, but you could try it. Okay, so you could also inspect it, and you could then make sure that, you could actually make sure that it's escaped. So the bigger and the greater and smaller signs are actually turned into HTML entities. So there is no way to do the XSS. Okay, so I don't know what else we could do. Uh, the report would need some XSS, then we could talk about it. The contact form, we could actually try to input different stuff here uh, to see if it will actually work. Uh, so it just redirects me to the home page. There is nothing special about the contact form. I think it's time to start reviewing the code because uh, I I don't find we could try some obfuscated payloads in the create node, but uh, it's not uh, it's not worth it. It would be better if you start reading the code at this point. Okay, so this is the folder for the source code. It contains two folders: the bot folder, which is the bot that will visit the links the link you put, and it should you should exploit the XSS to steal its cookies. Maybe a secret node we still don't know about it. And we have the web folder, and this folder contains the source code for the web application. I actually like to take a look at the Docker file because uh, it will give you like an abstract view of what is inside the application. In this case, it's actually doing basic stuff. It's just downloading the requirements, like the modules to run the challenge, like PostgreSQL client, which is a database client. It's actually downloading DOM Purify 2. So from this, we know that our input is sanitized, and this is why the onError attribute got removed from the XSS that we have inputted. Okay, and the Python requirements we will take a look later if needed. And then it calls the entry point, and the entry point will just start the web service for this application. There is nothing special about it. It's just starting the database and starting the service for the web application. Okay, so it's time to take a look at the web application source code. From the file names, you could start by looking at the init, because it seems like it's the point of start, and main is also a good file to start reading from. In this case, init contains like 50 lines of code, but you don't have to really read the 50 lines of code in order to understand how it works, because I actually got some messages from people saying that they have trouble dealing with challenges that contain heavy source code or like complicated source code. And there are actually methods to work on your path. There are methods to review the code that will facilitate the way you look at it and to understand it. In this case, you could actually, by experience, just looking at the imports he's making, you could just know that this file doesn't seem helpful. It's not worth to take a look at. It wouldn't contain any vulnerabilities. From a general point of view, we still don't know. It's another assumption I make. You could also take a quick look at the function names, because as I always say, function names would tell you what the function is actually doing. So you don't have to reverse the lines of code of the function. You just read the function name and tell what it does. For example, clear database would just remove content from the database, maybe tables. I don't care, it's not helpful. You have also the create app function that will just create the application for the web service, and this is also not helpful. So we know that I should have probably left this out of the downloadable source code. No, because you're actually having the Docker and everything. So if I'm trying to solve the challenge locally, I would need that file. So it should be a part of the downloadable source code. Okay, then you have the forms file. This is like, you should ignore this. I added some things like this in just to minimize stress on infra, and figured I would keep the local plus remote shells identical. Okay, I see. Okay. Then we have the forms, and this, like, from if we take a look at it, it's not worth reading the code, because it contains just classes, and the classes are just forms. It just represents forms. A form, what I mean by a form is just the web form where you input stuff and then you click on the submit button, and you submit a form. That's what a form is. And it's just initializing and defining forms. It's not really helpful. Oh, the DB cleaning. Okay, I see. Then the main file is just running the application, nothing special. Then you have the models. The models are basically, in an easy way, you could imagine them as database tables. They are just tables. This is just defining the way, the columns of a table and the type of data and everything. And there are two models here, the user and the note. It's just a note keeping app. So yeah, you have a note, you have like a table for the notes that will store the content of the notes, and you have a user table that will store usernames and passwords. And now into the real business, which is the views.py. Also, if you are familiar with web development in Python or in Flask specifically, you'd actually know that it's not worth looking at all of the other files. It's worth looking at the views.py file because it defines the way endpoints like /home, /API, whatever, would behave when you visit them. So this is like the real thing you should focus on. Okay, the challenge is just some client-side bug. It should be an XSS from our assumptions. So it's not also worth taking a look at most of the endpoints. Just like the login endpoint, it's not actually worth taking a look at this. It's just doing a login. I mean, you wouldn't find a bug here. I might be wrong, but it's just an assumption to win some time and to actually simplify the process of code review. Also, the register wouldn't contain any bug. I mean, it wouldn't be vulnerable to some SQL injection because it's an XSS challenge. For anyone wondering, the code was at least 70% written by ChatGPT. Okay. Does this stream will be available after it ends? Yes, for sure. Every stream is going to be available after it ends. All of them are recorded. All right. So the home is just rendering. The home, I'm just giving examples of endpoints that it's not worth looking at. And this technique is applicable to most of the challenges, even in real life, because in real life, source codes are really heavy. So you should actually use your own way or the well-known techniques in order to simplify the process and make reviewing the code easy. Okay. What I might be interested in right now from all of these methods, okay, the report would just send the report to the bot. I'm actually interested in these two endpoints, the create and the view, because they are, when doing the dynamic analysis, they were the only two endpoints that actually gave me result after I interacted with them. So if there would be a bug, it's most likely it will be here. We also have endpoints that are similar. Just here, API notes fetch, and from the name, it's just trying to fetch the node from the database. This is trying to store the node in the database, and that's it. Okay, so if we take a look at the create endpoint is not actually doing much in the Python code. It's just, if you make a GET request, it will just create the form and render the grade.html file. And if you are making a POST request, it will actually fetch the node ID from the database. So this will be executed only if the user actually saved the node. That means that there is some other code that is saving the node inside of the database, because this is just fetching it. It's just fetching the node, taking its ID, and creating a redirect to the view node, which is this guy, the view node, which will just render the node. So this means that there is some other code that is actually saving the node in the database. Okay, and the view endpoint is also just 2 lines, which is, this will get the node ID from the URL, and then it will render the view.html file. So from this, you must think actually that the code that is rendering the node and everything is inside of the view.html file. So it's actually dynamically loaded with asynchronous requests with JavaScript. So there must be some JavaScript code that is actually loading the node and rendering it inside of the page. Okay. Also, these two endpoints, as I said, are the ones. This one will actually store the node inside of the database, and the one here will fetch it from the database. Okay, I would go and take a look at the create.html file, and I'm also going to open the view.html file. All of the other files are not needed for the moment, at least, because they don't contain any like useful code in my opinion. So I would ignore them. Okay, the create.html file, I would take a look at the JavaScript because I've already seen the page. It's just a form that will let me enter some content. Just input content and click on the save button. It will create a node. That's it. So the JavaScript code is the code that is handling everything once you click on the button. Here there is an event listener that once you click on the submit button, it will actually execute this code, this block of code. So this block of code is the one that is well, making something we still don't know what it does. We will read it right now. It takes the node content, just like you see, it takes the node content. It checks if it's not empty, and here it does some dumb verify sanitize, and this is used to remove the evil tags, I would say, like, or attributes. Just like if you enter a script tag, it will be removed. If you enter like an evil attribute, just like this image source equals x on error equal alert 1, well, it will remove this part because this part will execute JavaScript. فير سامر hello. أهلا فيرس وينك لاباس عليك؟ به. Then what? After sanitizing the content, removing everything that shouldn't be there because it will execute JavaScript, it will make a request to the node store. So it will store the node after sanitizing it. Now you might think of a way here because this could be bypassed. This could be bypassed. Why? Because you could, with the debugger, change the content of the sanitized content variable when it tries to send the request, or you could even change it with burp suit. So you could like launch burp suit, intercept this request, which will send the content to this endpoint, and you could change the sanitized content. That's an idea you get while reading the code. However, taking a look at the endpoint that stores the node, you could see that it's actually using something here called bleach, which is a Python module that will sanitize your input just like dumpverify does. Okay, you might also think that bleach might be vulnerable, so you might check for this task. Are we trying to read an already saved node with the flag? Okay, I will answer you right now. You would know that by taking a look at the bot's code. So index.js is like the code that will manipulate the bot to start the headless Chrome browser and visit the page, the URL we gave. And it's actually, the flag is inside the cookie. So the flag is inside the cookie of the bot. That means that we are trying to steal the cookies from this admin bot, I would say. Okay, back to the views. So as I said, you might think that bleach module might be vulnerable, like it's an old version or something. But if you take a look at the requirements.txt file, it's actually using the latest version. When it doesn't specify the specific version it wants, it will load the latest one. That means that there are very less chances of this being exploitable. You could search like to make sure 100% it's not, but I'm just saying because I already solved the challenge, I already know what should be done and everything. Okay, so there is actually no way to bypass the dump verify because it's actually sanitizing the input on the server side too. That means that we cannot intercept the request and change it. Okay, after sanitizing it, it will store it. Okay. So this code seems safe. There are no injection points. There is nothing. So I would just go to the view.html page and start reading it. The view.html page is the page. If I just get back, okay, I need to create another note. By the way, the challenge removes accounts every 1 hour, I think, or something. Um, okay, so if I try to create a node right now, I will create again some kind of XSS that won't work because it's sanitized. We created the node, it's created, we could view it, and you could just see that the on error part got removed, and the view.html page is the page that will render our content. So uh, taking a look at the JavaScript might be helpful because a DOM XSS might be there. A DOM XSS is just a normal XSS, but it's generated throughout the execution of the JavaScript, and you'll see an example just in this challenge, and you'll understand it if you're not familiar with it. Okay, these are just functions. I'm not gonna take a look at them right now. I would like, that's the way I do it. I'd like to actually get down and see who's actually calling the functions and in what order. Okay, you'd see that the functions are called either by you clicking on the fetch node button. So there is, okay, I don't see it, but okay, there is like some fetch node. I think this is it. This is the button. When you click on this, the node will be loaded. That's the way. The second way is it will call these functions. You could see validate and fetch. It's calling it when the page is loaded. So when the page is loaded, it will also take the node. It's taking it from the URL here. You could just read, and it's taking it from the URL, just like here. We have a node. It took the node, changed the value of this input to our node, and then loaded the node, and the content is just here, appears here. All right. So after taking the ID from the URL, it will call the function validate. No need to read the flag from admin's cookie. Oh yeah, you need to read the flag from the admin's cookie. Validate and fetch node will take the node as a parameter, and let's see what this function would do. So this function is checking that the node ID is actually not empty, so it shouldn't be empty, and it checks that it's actually a valid unique identifier. Okay, so there is a problem here. At first sight, taking a look at this function, you'd think that that there is a big problem because we need to enter a valid unique identifier, and so we cannot control the node ID. Okay, what does the isValidUnique UUID function doing actually? It's running some regular expression. For those who doesn't know what a regular expression is, I would like to define it as it's just a language, and it contains rules, and these rules are used in order to match substrings from strings, or like specific content from like big text or stuff like that. Okay, just like in this example, what this regular expression doing, it's matching, like this part here is matching 8 hexadecimal digits. So it's just matching 8 hexadecimal digits. That's a way. Okay, as you see here, just in the bottom here, the unique identifier contains actually 8 hexadecimal digits, and then 4, and this is what the regular expression is doing. It's just matching these parts with the dashes. You could see the dashes here, and it's matching the different parts from the node ID. Okay, and this dollar right here means that it should end with this. So okay, that's what the regular expression is doing. It's matching a unique identifier, and it's telling it that the unique identifier should end with this part here. Okay. Now, from my reflexes, because I got some experience with it, I would say that this regular expression is vulnerable to a logic bug. I would call it a logic bug. Why is it vulnerable? Basically, because it's trying to match the unique identifier from the node ID variable, but it's not matching it from the start. Our node ID variable starts just after the equal sign in the URL, just in the parameter called node. The node ID here the regular expression is not matching the note ID from its start point. If you would call this function safe, then you should enter this character in this beginning. It's like the XOR character. And what this character means, it means starts with this. When you enter this character, the regular expression would make sure that the whole note ID would start with hexadecimal digits and would end with hexadecimal digits, and thus it will it will not be vulnerable. We cannot inject stuff before these 8 hexadecimal digits. We cannot inject stuff before the unique identifier because it's matching it from the start. It's checking that it starts with 8 hexadecimal digits. And this is the problem. It's not checking it from the start. And we could test it right here to confirm that what we have seen is actually doable. So this is the unique identifier for the note ID, for the note here. And I would inject some non-hexadecimal character like a K or whatever. And it will tell you note not found. But if this was not valid, if this check is not made, then it will tell you that please enter a valid note ID. That means that our note ID was actually valid, even with a non-hexadecimal digits. Just like I said, because the regular expression is not matching it from the start. That's the problem. That's the first problem. Okay. So we have bypassed this check. We could control the note ID. What could we do with this? It's doing some history.push state. This will just like change the path part in the URL. I would try it. Okay, I will open a new page and try it just for you to understand what it's doing. If I do history dot push state, sorry, no whatever, and then some path. Okay, now I entered /a in the URL, and you could see it actually got replaced with the old path. If I enter like whatever string here, it will just get replaced here. And this will be helpful later on, and you would see why. I wouldn't talk about it right now, but when we have to talk about it, I will talk about it just to better understand it. Okay, and then it will call the fetch note by ID, which is the function that will just fetch the note from the database and return its content. And this is where the funny business is happening. This function will check that the note ID wouldn't contain dot dot slash. So we could control the note ID, but we cannot input dot dot slash from a first glance, just from the first look. That's what I see. Okay, and why did he actually made this check? This check was made because if you control, where's the note ID? If you control the note ID, you could actually enter dot dot slash as many times as you want. And what this will do, it's just like a file system. Let's say you are inside the home directory, like user, whatever. If you input a dot dot slash, the path will become /home. So you go to the upper directory, to the parent directory. If you do another dot dot slash, it just becomes a slash. It's just the root. Okay, so this is another bug that is well known in the web. It's called client-side path traversal. It's where you could traverse your path away, like you could go up the tree, and you could call any other endpoints inside the websites. You could include files. You could make requests to other endpoints, which might get worse in some scenarios. Okay, so if I just hit the enter now, it won't work right here because it's actually part of the parameter. This is the problem. But when he's making the request here with my note ID, he's actually including it in a real path. So if I was also in a real path, just like he did fetch or API /notes/fetch, and I inject a dot dot slash, as you could see, if I hit the enter button right now, it actually went to the notes, let's say directory, I would say, just like a file system. If you do dot dot slash 2 times, it will get back to the root of the website. And this is bad, because if we could inject this signs here, we could call other endpoints. We could call the /home, we could call the /register, we could call the /login. We could access any endpoint that we want with the client, with the browser of the victim that visited our link that contained the XSS. Okay, let me get back to the view. So after like making the check that it doesn't include the /, it will then make the request, the GET request, and fetch the note. Okay, and let's see what it's doing after fetching the note. After fetching the note, it will, okay, it's getting the result in JSON. This is the endpoint it's calling, and this endpoint will fetch the note from database, and it will JSONify it. It will create a JSON object with the content of the note. So you have a content key and you have the note ID. Okay, it's accessing that content. It's accessing the content here, and it's doing inner HTML DOM purify sanitize. It's calling DOM purify on the data.content. So even if we have bypassed the create node thingy and bypassed DOM purify at first glance and like injected some XSS payload into the database, when it will load it, it will actually it will not execute, because DOM purify here couldn't be bypassed. It's using the latest version. Unless you find a 0-day, then you would bypass it. Like you would solve the challenge in an unintended way. Okay, so this part is not reachable. I wouldn't work on that, because you cannot bypass DOM purify. If we take a look, it's actually trying to also access data.error, which contains an error, and it's concatenating it with a string and calling the show flash message. I will search for the function, because it's not defined right here. It's not in this file. So I will search the templates folder for this function. And it's defined in the base.html. Maybe this function is vulnerable to some XSS. I mean, okay, it's called the show flash message. It takes a message, but the message here is inserted using text.content. Unfortunately, text.content is not vulnerable to HTML injection or XSS. Even if the message was equal to /image source x, I would say, it will actually show the same thing. It will escape this. It will turn it into end LT, which is an HTML entity representing the smaller sign. So you cannot actually do any HTML injections. You cannot inject JavaScript or execute JavaScript here. It's not vulnerable. It's not worth looking at. So this is not vulnerable. This is not vulnerable too. There is no data that we input here, so it's not vulnerable. And then this is the funny part. Whenever you see the debug word, you start knowing that it's actually the funny part where the vulnerability might exist. Okay, so we haven't seen a debug key being returned in the view.html file from the endpoint. Okay, it's not returned by the endpoint, but if it was there, I'm just making like imagining the case. If it was there, then it will be injected without DOM purify. There is no DOM purify right here, just like in here. And it's using outer HTML, which is just like inner HTML. They are both vulnerable to HTML injections and XSS. So you could actually inject HTML into the debug at like value, and it will be rendered in HTML into the document that will be returned, and we would see that. So we have reviewed the whole code, and there is the only vulnerable part is this part, and the problem is there is no debug attribute returned from this fetch endpoint. It only returns content, note ID, or if the note was not found, it will return the error, but it never returns the debug. Okay, now let's connect the points together. We first have just a second. we first got we could manipulate the unique identifier uh, just like we want, because this is the regular expression is vulnerable for those who just came to watch the live stream. This is vulnerable to a logic bug because it doesn't contain this sign. It's not matching the unique identifier from its start point, which is a problem because it's just matching any unique identifier in the string we enter, and so we could enter characters before the unique identifier and it will still match that. حبيبنا ذاك. Okay. Right, let me just take a hit from the puff and we could get back now. Okay, so we said we have three things we could take notes. We have the first thing is we could manipulate the unique UUID, I would say. I would also suggest to anyone doing web challenges to take notes of the things they can do, because when you are reviewing the code, you would see vulnerabilities. It will be good to actually save what you see, because it might get useful later. You might chain the different attacks together to reach what you want, like as a vulnerability. So we first could manipulate the UUID. Then we haven't talked about this yet. We haven't talked about it, so let's talk about it. If you actually take a closer look to this, this is vulnerable. This could be bypassed. Why is it bypassable? Well, if you connect these 2 points here, this is the node ID that we have entered in the URL. Okay, it's checking if it contains this. After it makes the check, it will decode it. It will decode the node ID. It will decode the URL encoded characters. This is a big problem. Why? Because if the node ID in this stage, let's say we are here at this point, if the node ID is equal to %41, also I would explain URL encoding really quickly. URL encoding is basically when you encode characters that have special meaning in the URL, just like the slash character. The slash character like separates files from directories, and it's a special character. You cannot just input it like that. You should URL encode it if you are passing a string to the server. Okay. So these are just hexadecimal representation for the character, just like 0x41 is equal to the A character. I wonder if stripping the slash actually made the challenge easier. Stripping the, okay, I'm thinking about it. I'm not sure if it will actually. I'm not sure. I guess it's a bit of a hint. Well, yes, it's a bit of a hint. Also, if you are stripping that part, would you strip all the parts? Like if you got dot slash and dot slash, would they all get removed, or you are just removing the first part? If you remove them all, then entering a space here or any other character would bypass it, I think. I'm not sure, but I think it will be bypassed this way. Okay, back to the challenge. The node ID here. So if the node ID was equal to this part, which is just the character A URL encoded, it will bypass the check. It will bypass this check. Okay, and after making the check, it will be decoded. So the node ID at this point here will be equal to just the character A, because it got URL decoded. And okay, so how would you bypass this thing? Imagine the node ID being equal to actually not the character A, but to %2e, %2e, %2f. this representation, the 2e is a point, this is a point, and this is the slash. If it reaches this part and it's still URL encoded, it will actually bypass the check, and after the check it will be decoded, and so the node ID will be equal to just a dot dot slash, injecting it into the path here, and we could get back a directory, we could get the nodes, we could enter as many as we want and like climb up the wall of this names until you reach the root part of the server and you start inputting names of other endpoints, and you could access other endpoints or whatever. Okay, but how are we going to make it reach this form? How are we going to make it reach this form? Well, you could basically make a double URL encode, not just one URL encode, not just %41. It's just an A. You make %25. %25 is just a percentage. It's just this character. So I'm not gonna do percentage for like 41. I'm gonna do %25 and then 41. So when you first decode this part, it will be the 25 will be decoded into a percentage sign. It will be %41. When he decodes the URL again in a second stage, it will become the character A. This is what double URL encoding is about. Okay. If it's gonna remove the first, why don't we just add more? You said we can add a space to bypass it. How's that? How is that? Basically, the strip function in most programming languages would remove the string you give either from the start of the string or from the end of it. So in a Python example, if I have AAA and the B here, if I strip the B, the last B would be removed. If I have a B inside the string, it wouldn't get removed, as you could see here. It's not removed, sorry, just here. So if, just like the example CryptoCat gave, he said that stripping the dot dot slash might be easier. So if you have that, if you have a dot dot slash, if you strip the dot dot slash, it will get removed. However, if you enter anything about it, anything before it, sorry, it will not get removed because it becomes part of the string. Just a single character is enough to bypass it because this will make it inside of the string, just like a space. A space would bypass it here. And so when you have like notes, fetch, whatever, and then you have the note ID you injected, like it will be here. If you enter a space and dot dot and a dot dot slash, it will actually work. Also, you could just simply bypass it by doing just injecting a slash here would bypass it. Okay, it didn't actually. Okay, a space again, and you would bypass it. The space will become part of that folder name, I would say, or the endpoint name, something like that. This is why it's bypassable. Okay. The WRL encoding. Yeah, if I enter %25 and then a 41, it will. Okay, the browser didn't decode it, but whatever. I meant like maybe I shouldn't have even put a filter there in the first place. Oh, so you just like leave it to only because it's quite easy to bypass it. It's quite easy, but it's actually funny because you need to know that the decode URL component exists. Also, there is another point. If this line of code didn't exist, if this history.push state didn't exist, this is why I said it's useful. It will help us. If this line didn't exist, the WRL encoding wouldn't be performed, and you would see why. Let's say I am doing the same thing. I'm gonna copy that line of code here. Okay, and I'm gonna do the decode URL component. Let's say that the note ID was equal to percentage like 25, 41, whatever. The decode URL component would only decode one stage of the WRL encoding, and it will just transform this into a percentage sign, and it's %41 at the end. It's not the character A. That's a big problem. But instead, the history.push state actually was helpful because if you didn't know, history.push state does actually decode URL encoded characters. It's actually like a connection between the browser and the function that does it. If you do it, I entered %41, but what was rendered, the character A was actually rendered. That means that this was helpful because at the first layer, it will make the first URL decoding. At a second stage, this will make the second URL decoding. So if this function wasn't there, we wouldn't be able to bypass this guy. Okay. I hope everything is clear. If you got any questions, you could just write in the chat. I'm reading the chat. It's on my phone. Okay. What do we have right now? So the second point that we could bypass the check for that. That's the second thing we could do. So, and by doing that, we have a client-side path traversal. What the fuck, I didn't even notice that. I think because ChatGPT wrote the code actually. Maybe that was the thing. Okay, back to the challenge. The only reason I put the IRC is for visual aspect. Okay. Okay, I see. But I mean, it was the reason for the exploit to work, because if we try, the push state is really cool. Yep, the push state is really cool. So when the page reloads, it populates the search field automatically. Oh, okay, see this part here. All right. I think, like, where is the view note? I hope I wasn't logged out. Yep. If I were to enter the percentage 25 to E, I'll just make a little demo about it, just to make sure that what I was saying is actually correct. Now this is WRL encoding of dot and a slash. Okay, as you could see, maybe I made a mistake. Oh no, I didn't make a mistake, but we would see it here. It actually made the request. I will do it again. I'm sorry, I will do it again just to see it. Okay, so I entered the WRL encoding of dot slash. This is what it rendered, but you could take a look at the network tab and you could see that it made a fetch to this thing with the dot, because it was making a fetch to the API nodes fetch endpoint, but with our dot slash, the path became slash API slash nodes only with the UID, because it's part of the node ID too. So this is why it worked. If I were to I'm gonna set a breakpoint in the JavaScript source just to show you, because I might be wrong too. I don't know. History push, where am I? Search history.push state. This line of code, I will set a breakpoint. I will inject the double URL encoded payload and do it again. So you could see here that the node ID contained. Okay, I think I'm actually wrong. So the node ID contains the node ID, but it got already double URL encoded, and the push state is going to. It doesn't do nothing. It's nothing helpful, because if I inject a point here, this is the node ID passed to the fetch node is this. It's not taking it from the URL. I'm really sorry. I was wrong about that point. Please forgive me. Okay, I don't know what I was thinking about it. I'm sorry. Anyways. Okay, we have these three things. We could manipulate the user unique identifier. We could bypass the dot slash check. We have a client-side path traversal. Now, what is left if we execute these three steps in the exploit? we could actually, from URL bar, it will be URL decoded by default. Once by the, yes, true. I knew that. I don't know like why I said that. Maybe it was like from an older challenge or something. I'm sorry. Anyways, as I was saying, if you execute the three parts, if you manipulate the unique identifier to contain the dot dot slash WRL encoded, and you inject it here, and you have the path traversal, so you could control this path. This fetch request is controllable. You could make fetch requests to any endpoint you want. You cannot make it to your server directly because you are only controlling the path. You are not controlling the full URL. All right, so the next thing you should think of too, is to get back and take a look at the different available endpoints. Maybe some endpoint would let you manipulate the response in some way in order to like forge the debug key and get the HTML injection with the XSS. Okay, but you could take a look. The home does nothing. This fetch already controls the content. You cannot like inject JSON inside of this or whatever. The store does nothing. Also the register, there is nothing useful. The login also, the create, we have seen it. The view, we know, because this also return HTML. You can see that it returns HTML. And that means that you cannot parse the HTML as a JSON. Where is the parsing JSON part? This is because after making the fetch request, it's parsing the response as a JSON. And if it contains HTML at the beginning, that's not valid JSON, so it won't work. So you cannot really play with the endpoints that would render HTML files. Okay, but you could like take a full look at this. The report also wouldn't be helpful, but if you just read the whole endpoints, there is only one endpoint that might be useful because it's the contact. Okay, if you make a GET request, it's not helpful. But if you make a post, also if you make a GET request, it's actually helpful. Let's remove the post request part because we cannot make post requests with that fetch. That fetch is already doing GET requests. We cannot control the type of the request being made. So let's remove this lines. Let's focus on this part. This part is taking from the parameters of the URL some return variable. So it should be part of the URL. It's here, just like that. Let's say I entered this URL here. It will take that return URL and it will check if it's not empty. If it's not empty, if it is safe, then it will make a redirect to that URL. And this is really useful because you might use the contact endpoint to make redirects to your server and make your server return the forged response that would contain the debug key in it. And so you achieve XSS that way. So we need to know what the isSafe URL function is actually doing. How is it checking for the URL to be safe? Okay, isSafe URL, this is the method. Also, another analysis technique here you might have done instead of like passing through the endpoints and reading their code, you could just see that this function should be interesting because it's there. I mean, the author of the challenge wouldn't just define a function called isSafeURL and just do nothing with it. It should have something to do with. So you could just take it here and search for it in the page, and then you'd find that it's only called in the contact form. And that way you would know that the contact form might be interesting to look at, and you start reading its code and you identify the vulnerability and everything. So you have a full redirect, the open redirect vulnerability. Okay, what the isSafe URL is doing, it's taking the target, which is our URL that we input, and it's going to join it with the host URL. The request.host URL is just, it contains as a value the current domain we are at. So if we are at example.com, it will contain https example.com. Sorry, without the https, I think. And then I gotta go for 10-15 minutes, but great stream. Great stream, bro. All very well explained, and I love the live zoom and annotations. Thank you so much, CryptoCat. Thank you again for sharing the stream on Twitter, LinkedIn, and everything. Really grateful. Have a good time. Thank you. Okay, so you could join the target with this. This function will just join the target string with the host string, and it will parse it as a URL. This will return some like kind of dictionary in Python. It's an object that would contain different parts of the URL, just like the scheme would be HTTPS, I would say. You have the host. The host is the domain you're at. It will contain the port, let's say port 80, whatever. This will just contain a dictionary containing different parts of the URL. If you are not familiar with these functions or you don't know what they do, you could simply double click them. I'm using Sublime Text, and you would know like which module actually got these two functions, and then you could just install the module if you don't have it and try them on your own machine. So I would take this line of code and I will test it. So let's say that we have https example.com or like challenge.com, the challenges website, and on the other part I got /test or whatever. Then you could see it returned the scheme that contains the different URL parts: the path, the netlock, which is the domain, the scheme, the parameters, the query, everything. If you remove that function just to see what the URL.join did, the URL.join, as I said, concatenated this part to this part. Nothing special. However, in the URL.join, if you pass to it a full URL, then it will replace it. It will replace this one with the new URL, only if you pass in a full URL with a protocol and a domain and everything. Okay. This way you could know like functions that you are not familiar with. You could test them and know how they behave and everything, and start looking for vulnerabilities if you need. Okay, that means it's just checking if the URL starts with HTTP or HTTPS. So if it starts with HTTP or HTTPS, it means that it is a safe URL according to the function. That means that any URL that starts with those protocols is safe. That means that we could just enter https example.com and it should redirect me to example.com, and we could test that. We could go to the contact endpoint. As I said, it's taking a parameter called return from the URL arguments or parameters, whatever you'd call them, checking if it's safe and making the redirect. So return, it's called just return https example.com. Zooming on the URL, this is what I have typed. Hitting enter would make a redirect to example.com, as you could see. So it's vulnerable to open redirect. Open redirect would let you redirect from a main domain to another domain, just like to any link you want. That's the vulnerability. That's what it does. This will help us because if we pass to the contact form right here, sorry, if we make this, if we inject a ///// three of them just to get to the root. So now it's this, and then I want to enter contact, and then we do return, and then attacker.com. So it will connect to my server. It will make the fetch request to my server, and I will return the forged payload that would contain debug. Sorry, debug with the XSS payload here. Returning this payload will make it execute JavaScript because it will take the debug and it will inject it using outer HTML, as I said before. Okay, so let's actually do that. We have everything, so let's start doing it. We don't have to really create a node. We could just enter. I could just take this ID because we are not gonna look for nodes inside of the database. We are trying to make a client-side path traversal and making a request to our server to actually fetch the contents node, the node's content. Sorry. So it's view and note equal, I think. Yeah. Okay, now I will bring the URL here just to see what I'm doing. Okay, as I said, so there exists a WRL encoding. We could WRL encode the dot slash, which will become this. Just copy paste it, 25 and 2f. This is the dot slash WRL encoded. Put it here. I will put it 3 times just as I explained in order to get to the root of the website. Then after having that dot slash, we could just start entering the endpoint we want. So I would go to contact, and I'm gonna enter this sign for to tell it that I'm gonna pass a parameter which is return, which is equal to https example.com, and I don't want this to be part of my URL, so I could also make another like interrogation point. We could test this now, and we could take a look at the network tab to see what requests were made. And you could see that it actually made a request to this URL, which is the redirected one, like we entered here in the contact return equal https example.com. It redirected to that URL along with the node ID being a parameter because we have entered the question mark. Okay, so we have successfully bypassed everything, and we could now make arbitrary fetch requests using the client's browser. Okay, the only thing left is to host some like web server, I would say, that would return the payload we have talked about. So I would start doing that locally, and then I would make it remote just to exploit the challenges bot and get the real flag. Okay, I will just host an index.php file, nothing special. Not even like, who cares about PHP? We could just, okay, I haven't created it. Just an HTML file, even just a TXT file, whatever. You just wanted to return a debug with the XSS payload on error alert 1. Let's see if this will execute. Okay. Now I need to start the server and then get my my IP. HTTPS 000 on port 80 sudo. This launched the web server, and I could access it using this URL. It works locally because I mean the exploit is hosted on my domain. Now I would like to make the redirect here, and let's see what would actually happen. Oh, I need to have the WRL encoding again. So this is the URL I want. I could paste it here, and let's take a look at the network tab. Okay, there's a little problem because it's still trying to make the request. Okay, yeah, there's a big problem here. Okay, it finished fetching from that resource, and it returned some kind of error. Taking a look at the console, it actually couldn't resolve it because, my bad, I have not entered it correctly. I'm sorry. Okay, let's start. I would remove the S2 because I don't have an SSL certificate hosted on my local server. And trying it again, going to the network tab, you could see it made the fetch request. Wait. Yeah, this redirected it to that endpoint. Yes, this is the location. And there was a problem. This was blocked by something. If you want to see the errors, you always should go to the console tab and take a look. So what happened here is this request was blocked because because it wasn't loaded over HTTPS. That's bad. Okay, lucky for me, I was using ngrok for a couple of years, but I updated my machine, and actually ngrok got removed, and I'm too lazy to make a new account, so I'm using this new thing called Surveyo. It just works like ngrok. ngrok it does. Okay, don't you tell me it's okay. I think their servers are down. It's not working anymore. Okay, and I don't have a server and my ngrok. Okay, probably I have it. I have ngrok on my Ubuntu machine, so I will try to load it. Because you know, ngrok you need to make an account and register and everything. I'm not doing that on the live stream. Again, guys, if you got any questions, you could type them in the chat, and I will answer every question gladly. Sorry for not having ngrok and Surveyo being down. So we are just losing time right now. Okay. Okay, I think I already. Okay. ngrok is here. That's a big sum. So ngrok is here, and I think I could. And also I have Apache too in this machine, so I could just put stuff here. These are old, so I'm gonna remove them. I'm gonna make the same file I just have made on my other machine. It's gonna contain the same content. Debug XSS. Oh, not like that. I want a real XSS here. Source X on error alert 1. And we could start the ngrok server. I will start it on TCP, or wait, we need to start it on HTTP in order to get the HTTPS, so it works, because the browser wouldn't make any request that is not to an HTTPS domain. And why it's making that? Because the domain you are making the request from is running HTTPS. So if you are sending a request, a cross request, it should also be made to some HTTPS server or website. I would run it on port 80, and this is the link we get. I hope it works, because also ngrok added the layer where you need to click on visit site in order to render the real content. So I'm not sure if this will work. We'll see. I don't know. Okay, let me replace the ngrok link with this link, and let's see the network tab again. Okay, okay, well, the request was made, and there was a big problem here. As you could see, it's some CORS error. CORS stands for cross-origin resource sharing, and this thing, the CORS thing, is created so like you cannot make requests from a domain to another domain like just with ease. You need the cross origin was created as a protection layer along with the SOP, which is an older, I would say, technique of protection, which stands for same origin policy. The same origin policy wouldn't let you make requests from one site to another site and take the cookies from this session to the other, like along with the request to the other session. So if I was an attacker and there was a victim that had Facebook open on this tab and he visited my website, if I make a request to facebook.com, his cookies wouldn't be sent with my request, and I also, due to the CORS and the same origin policy, I wouldn't be able to get the response from from that request. And it's just a protection because in the very first days of the web, like in the like Netscape was created and everything, you were actually able to access uh, another website with a session of a user from your own website, and that was shown in many videos. You could actually take a look at Live Overflow YouTube channel. He talked about the history of same origin policy and cross origin resource sharing. Okay, so the cross origin resource sharing is actually blocking me from making a request to a cross domain, to another domain. It just said that it blocked this. And uh, if you are even not familiar with web as a concept, like and these protection techniques and everything, it's actually okay because the error itself gives you a hint. It actually told you that the request doesn't pass access control check. Why? Because no access control allow origin header is present on the requested resource. That means that if I had this header returned in the response from my server, I would have bypassed CORS. And you could also you could actually Google this header and like I would send the link. You could read more about it because it's a whole family of headers that like make cross-origin resource sharing available or like accessible between some domains. So like some domains could actually send requests along with the cookies, or like even they could take the response from the website, from the cross domain, I would say. Okay, so the access control allow origin is a header that indicates whether the response can be shared with the requesting code from the given origin. Okay, so this header would tell the client who made the request. It would tell his browser whether the website that he's making the request from is actually allowed to see the response from my own domain. This is what it does. And if you put a star, you could read about it here, but if you put a star, that means that you allow all of the other domains, all of the cross domains, to actually take response from the response returned from my own domain. Okay, so this is easy. This is my bad. This is really easy. Instead of creating the, let me get back to the, instead of making an HTML file, I will put it into PHP just to be able to return the headers and everything. And inside of the PHP, you could leave it, but you should return the headers before the response because like that's how that's how requests are made. There are response and then there are headers. Sorry, these are headers, and then there is the response here at the end of the request. So if you are going to return a response, you should return the response before this is written. Okay, so we got PHP code. Basically, I will call the header function, which will let me, sorry, that's a reflex, which will make me return custom headers to any client who makes a request to my server. And I will just send it this header with the star. And let's see what happens now. Let's make the same request. I will copy the same link and I will make the same request and see what happens. Network tab, remove, we do that. Okay. Well, actually the same, we got the same error, but let's see why this time. It's not the same error actually, it's another problem, and you would see why. It's not the same error. It's not telling you that the access control allow origin is not set, or like it didn't allow it. It's talking about another thing right now. It's talking about the a request header that is called XCSRF token is not allowed by access control allow headers. That means that there is another header that I should return that would allow the client to send me like custom headers that are not that like custom headers that are not that Okay, the live stream is back, but ماني سكت وقع. This is what happens when you live in a poor country that doesn't respect its citizens. Yeah, I'm really sorry, but that's Tunisia. I'm not sure if even somebody's even watching me right now. Anyways, I'm gonna complete just because the video is recorded, even if no one is really watching the live stream. So as I was talking, I was taking a look at the. Let me make the request again because the request wasn't made. We set the access allow control headers and we accepted the XCSRF token header. So if I make the, I'm sorry here, this is my website. I will make the request again with the same URL here. Welcome again, guys. I'm really sorry. Okay, and the request was made right now. We're watching me, at least me. Thank you. And you can't even say anything about the country because if you say anything that is bad, you're gonna be put in jail. So there is no freedom. You cannot actually express yourself in here. That's the case. That's it. That's how we live in Tunisia. Okay. I'm just gonna. I'm not gonna say anything about it. I'm just gonna complete the challenge. يا ودي غدويك انا باش نمشي لهم. غدويك شنو هي غدويك السبت. حاسيلو. مريح. Let me get back to what I was doing. The request was made right now. There are no course error, just like before. Um, okay, but okay. Also, another thing I want to explain really quickly. There were two requests that were made. There are two requests, as you could see, two requests that are made to the same endpoint, to my server, because I put my server link, if you do remember. Okay, and the first, why there are two requests? Basically, the browser will send two requests on every like Ajax call you make or a fetch request you make or anything. The first request method is options. The options method is nothing special. It's just a method. The thing it does, it doesn't return a response. So if I go to the response, there is no response. Even if you look at the size of the response here in the size column, it's actually 0. So there is no response returned with options. It's just used as a pre-flight request, like before the actual request, just to take a look at the headers to make sure that these two headers exist and that it actually could make the get request and it could get a response, so we don't get blocked by the course. شنو اللي بدلته باش تعديت الريكوست. Okay, someone asked what did I made for what did I change in the code for the request to work. I just added the access control allow headers header with the CSRF token because it was doing a fetch request with the CSRF token with this header, and I should allow the header for the request to be made successfully and get the response. Okay, back to the challenge. So the request was made, but no JavaScript was executed. We will see why. Yeah, because of the website is served for free. It's because of the ngrok. Probably, if I visit the link again, well, it still works for me. Let's try it in a private window. Maybe I should allow it again to. This is why I hate ngrok, because it wouldn't allow you to make it. I can't make a private window here. I need to make it here. I should maybe allow myself again this way. Developer dot take a look at the link. Oh yeah, I already sent the link of the access control allow origin, which is the header that we used in order to allow the challenges website to send requests and receive response from our server. You could read more about it in this link. It was sent in the chat. Need to pause it again. Okay. This is why I hate ngrock. I'm gonna try again though. Maybe it works this time. I just don't know. Where is my stuff? Wait, maybe I was wrong with that. Maybe Surveyor works. Okay, Surveyor doesn't work. I thought that it didn't work because my connection was cut. Okay. Or like you could like create rent a VPS or like port forward through your router, which is the worst thing you could do. So what could I do right now? I think if nothing worked, I would just solve the challenge locally because we got the Docker file and everything, and that would be it. I can't make anything beyond that. I don't have a VPS, and I'm not gonna port forward through my server, through my router right now. So yeah. Okay, I would try it again. I would give it another try. Let me copy this. Still having the same problem, I think. Because this request returned HTML. If you look, it's actually HTML returned by the ngrock. And HTML is not valid JSON, so this is why we got this error telling it's not a valid JSON, because it contains characters that are not supposed to be the start of a JSON format. I'm not sure. I think I would just solve the challenge locally. That's the only thing I could do. Because Surveyor is not maybe like the SSH Surveyor. I'm trying like to load the old command because maybe their servers still work, but the domain have expired or something. So I don't know in which session I have wrote the command. It might have been removed. So okay, yeah, it got removed. Okay, I'm just gonna deploy it locally, solve it locally, and end the stream. Just enabled my shared folder between Windows and my virtual machine, so I could copy the source code into this and then copy it here. I'm gonna move it. It's called source1.zip. I will remove this. I will unzip the challenge. And what else? Okay, I think like CryptoCat made it even easier. He gave a start the sh file, which will actually call Docker Compose and everything. But I haven't yet made Docker service start by default when I start the machine. I should configure it. Anyways, maybe this needs root. This needs to be called with a root. So I made the sudo command, and now it's just we're gonna wait for it to build, pull the images and build the container and launch it and everything, and then we could start doing the challenge locally. I'm sorry again for not having a VPS. We could wait for it. If you got any questions, you could ask about anything, like not specifically web exploitation. I would gladly answer any question in the chat. libconf. These are the last lines of the Docker file, so it should just start soon. It's installing the requirements. First time hearing about integrity challenges. What are they about? Nginx Keep browser. Uh, just one time, Ahmed gotta try the command for ngrok. Maybe it works. Anyways, so the integrity challenges are made each month, and all the challenges, most of them, I would say, like 90% of the challenges are about exploiting cross-site scripting in some cool way. It's not just a classic XSS where you inject JavaScript and that's it. It's actually some fancy way. Just like in this challenge, we should have changed some logic bugs with a client-side path traversal with an open redirect in order to get to achieve the XSS. Normal free plan ينجمش. No idea. I'm just gonna try it anyways. Okay, بس option هذايا option في header تعديه في request. إذا كان مش نعديه في request لازم الفيتش تعديه. لازم الفيتش تعديه مش أنا ما عنديش حل يعني. I'm not sure. كان فهمتك ولا ليه. ما نورمال حسب ما حكيت انت لازم هو يكون هنايا في الهيدرز هذوما باش يتعدى. تعال نجوجلي عليها لحظة برك. How to bypass ngrok browser warning. Warning. It needs to be sent through the headers of the fetch, which I don't have control over, so I can't really make it. It's not gonna work. But there is like another. Wait. There's another thing I could do. Maybe if I start it as a TCP, then it might work. I'm not sure, because after all they are all communicating through TCP. Well, it worked, but the problem is it's not HTTPS. That's the only problem. HTTPS wouldn't work because I need to install some SSL certificate for it to work. I'm not sure if, like, I would try it on my payload right now. Maybe it works. Where was it? Here. Okay, it got blocked because of the HTTPS. It was marked as an insecure request. That's the problem. I'm not sure if I really wanna install an SSL certificate right now, or like if port 443 is. Oh, you cannot test it here. I'm not sure if port 443 is actually working. Yeah, it's not. So this wouldn't work. I need to install this certificate and then set up Apache to read it and everything. Solving the challenge locally is a better option. Especially that it's just pulling down verify and it's gonna start the containers. So thank you for waiting. What was the flag that? Okay, the flag just please solve locally first. This is the flag that we should get when solving locally. I think maybe this stream is also lagging because I'm doing a heavy download here. Not sure. Also, wait, did we hit? Also, thank you for the 200 subscribers. That means a lot. I should have at least made this before the live stream. That would have been a a good backup for me. But anyways, I'm sorry again. It's doing more. It's downloading more stuff. Wait. I might be wrong. Oh, it's now building the Docker for the bot. Okay. It has. Yeah, this was done, and now it's just doing this. This doesn't contain packages, I think. Maybe just Chromium. Okay, I'm also scared because I might run out of space. Okay, I only have about 4 gigabytes available. So I might also run out of space downloading that. But ربي معك باش. Merci, like. It's downloading. It's still making the. Okay, they are all packages. I don't think Chrome would get like 3 gigabytes. That's so much for a browser, I think. So I should be safe. Probably. It's installing Chromium now, I think. I could also, if I want to, I could remove the older challenges because they are just taking space. Probably this one could be removed for 500 megabytes, but anyways, if it's now extracting, so if I don't run out of space right now, I should be. Okay, seems like we are safe with 3 gigabytes left. Okay, about 3 gigabytes. It's taking more. Okay, now installing some packages that are not heavy, so I think I'm safe. I think I'm pretty safe. Installing Puppeteer. Okay, Puppeteer might be heavy, but Puppeteer, whatever you call it. Install.js. Install.js. Okay, this is the last package, so yeah, that should be fine. We still got space. He's also using some old versions of the library, so I'm not sure about the Chromium version he's using. I might take a look at the Docker file. Okay, seems like the latest version, because back in the days when uh, CTF players might uh, might not solve the challenge in the intended way, they would solve it in an unintended way by exploiting like a CV in Chrome or something to get RCE over the bot, and then they would just read the flag instead of solving the challenge using the XSS or whatever. But I don't think this would work here. I'm not sure. And we got an error because we are running. Wait, cannot start service web. There failed. Find failed. Port is already allocated, but I thought that I have I thought I have actually closed it, so I don't know. Just a second. PS CDF. Taking a look at the processes that maybe that PHP is still running. I don't know how I got Apache 2 running here. It should be from a Docker file. Can't actually. I don't have Apache 2. I thought. Right. Service systemctl service. I think Apache 2. Apache tools. I forgot how to use it. Help. Distance. Please bind for online mount list enable preset. If somebody could help me, because I forgot the command to list the services. System commands, reboot, save. Maybe that way, I think. Scale status Apache 2. I thought I don't have Apache 2 here. It can't be found. Service couldn't be found. It's really weird. I'm starting to get tired of this. Just a second. Oh. Okay, I got there was another container that is running over port 80, so I should stop it. Not Apache HTTPD. C'est bon. Okay, let's just stop the Docker stop. This one. Okay, now we stop this, and I don't think. You know what? I will stop everything. I will stop all of them. So I will stop all of them, and I will just start start.sh again. This time it should work, I hope. And all right, it worked. Okay, nice. And now I could just solve the challenge locally. So I'll just get Firefox, and because localhost, I could just play the challenge on my localhost. And making requests to localhost, even with HTTP protocol, it's yes, they are the same. It's localhost is considered safe, so you can actually make requests to it, even not over HTTPS. Okay, just gonna make a new account quickly. So I also hate Firefox. Not much, but I hate the interface. Okay, I'm just gonna register a new account. And now to the view. Okay, now we just could. Let me show you the same request. Where's Sublime Text? This is Sublime Text. This is the payload we were using. We need to just change this to localhost. And okay, I need to. Well, first of all, let me create a new, because we got the other one removed. So I need to make a new PHP script that will return the headers again and everything. Wait a second. I still got Ubuntu open, so I could just read it from here. And I should be able to paste it here. Okay, nice. And then start another server here, but not on port 80 because it's used. I would launch it on 4444. And okay, good. So if I access localhost over port, I should have the XSS along with everything. If I replace it in my payload, I hope this works. I also need to change this to localhost. Okay. Network tab run, unable to connect because HTTPS. Do connect. Okay, it worked, and we got the pop-up. You could see. I actually can zoom, I think. Yeah, I cannot zoom, but just a second. You could see the pop-up here. The payload was loaded. We have achieved XSS. Sorry for the long delay. I hope you haven't been bored watching me just setting up the Dockers. Alright. So what's left right now is to just make a payload that steals cookies. So I would just edit the payload here. Instead of alerting 1, I am going to redirect it. So document.location equals, and I'm going to redirect it to my server. So I'm going to we could redirect it here. So when it makes a request with the cookie. We will have the cookie here, right? So I will redirect it to localhost over the port 444, and I'm going to tell it to bring its cookies. So concatenate with the document.cookie. The document.cookie will return a string containing the cookies. You go. And since I'm testing it on myself, I should first define a cookie, because we only have one cookie. If you go to the storage cookies, and we only have one cookie. However, this cookie wouldn't be returned with document.cookie. And if you are asking why, it's, as you can see, it's an empty string. And it's not being returned because it's marked, it got the HTTP only flag, and this flag will make the cookie inaccessible with document.cookie, so you cannot access. This is why I should add another cookie. So I'm gonna add a new cookie. I'm gonna call it test, and flag should be here, or like whatever. And this is my cookie. Now if I run the document.cookie again, I will have the cookie here. And I could now test the payload on myself. I should just copy paste the URL again, removing the HTTPS here. Forgot about it. And now we could just do the same thing again, and we are not redirected. Localhost. Okay, there was some kind of problem. It's not marked in the console. I'm not gonna lose time just looking at it. Maybe I. Okay, that's weird. I said maybe I made a mistake when returning this, but it doesn't seem like I made any mistakes. It seems like a valid JSON object. So maybe document. Okay, I spelled location in the wrong way. That's the problem. Location actually. Location. All right. This should work this time. I hope. Okay. Now it should redirect me if it works. It should redirect me to my server along with the cookie. Yes. As you could see, it made a redirect with the cookie. I should stop it because it's just redirecting millions of times, and this is the cookie. We got the cookie on our server. If you were doing this with the real website, you'd just do the same steps. But instead of localhost, you just replace it with your own attacker server. So yeah, we tested on ourselves. Now we should test it on the bot. And how do we send reports to the bot? It's basically through the report endpoint. You just paste the URL, submitting the report. Please provide the value. Okay, the URL just needs to start with 127.0.0.1. Maybe for it to work, I need to also change this here. So it's also an IP. Oh no, actually localhost would still, well, whatever, localhost would still work, but whatever. You make the report. And now we should get the flag on. If I look at my oh wait, I made a huge mistake. I made a very huge mistake. Okay, I'm sorry, I made a very huge mistake because the container, if I just sent a request with localhost to the container would just connect on itself. So I'm just gonna maybe use some webhook or something to receive the flag. That would be it. That's the classic way. So I just copy a link and replace it in the payload. The link is HTTPS, so wait, we got a big there are actually more problems to it. Will this work? Oh, I hate that. Anyways, the request bin URL should be put in the redirect. And I think this would not also work because I'm still using localhost here. But I should use something that will let not the same network. It's not on the same network. I should use. Okay, how do Dockers make requests to the host machine? Let me Google this pretty quickly. Send request to host from Docker container. Okay, maybe like there is some domain you call or Docker IP address port. Okay, I think it's okay. Probably the Docker could access my other server if I either make port forwarding just like you made here, or I could use the IP they get. Okay, there are so many IPs. Probably this or like one of these. There are so many of them. I'm not sure which one the Docker would be able to make the request on. Okay, this feels like the correct one. So I'm gonna try it. I'm gonna just try it here. I hope it works. I forgot to change this to localhost. Okay, please work. Got reported. Did we get a request? Okay, we actually get the request. It's made. We should get the cookies on the request bin. Yes, we got the flag. Okay, we got the flag, we solved the challenge locally. It should be solved remotely. Sadly, I don't have VPS survey, it didn't work and everything. IP-f inet. Yeah, either do that or just with the if config, just like I did. Both work, both ways work. Container ID should only work inside of the container itself, I think, or like from container to container, but it wouldn't help. Like it's the way I have done it. This is how it should be done, I think. Okay, if you got questions, just leave them in the chat. Uh, kind reminder, if you liked the content, if you would like to help, you could actually leave a tip on this website uh, called Bakshish, which is a Tunisian website created to help Tunisian content creators and everything. This is the link if you'd like to support me. Okay, thanks everyone. Thank you. I hope this stream was okay. Sorry for the internet cut. And yeah, that should be it. I think we are done. I'm not sure if I'm going to open to make a live stream next week because I'm busy doing some other work. By the way, I just have remembered everyone. It will show IP addresses associated to the container. I will actually try it right now. It's not a problem. Docker inspect container ID. Oh, you should put the okay. Shift yes. You get the container ID. This is the challenge. Sudo docker inspect. Okay, this is the gateway. The gateway is our computer, is the host. So thank you for the comment. I didn't know about it. Thank you everyone for watching. Just before leaving, I would like to remind you that in just the next week, we got the Sekai CTF 2024. I have made reverse engineering challenges, so come and play. All different categories of players are welcomed. We have challenges ranged from easy to medium to hard, so everyone can enjoy the CTF. Also, next month we have the SecureNet CTF calls. I also created a reverse engineering challenge and a binary exploitation one, so make sure to give a visit. And yeah, and the finals are in Tunisia if you qualify or if you even plan on coming. Okay, so thanks everyone again for watching. Thanks for sticking to the end. Special thanks for every person that shared live stream. Special thanks for CryptoCat again for sharing the stream on different platforms. See you next time. Also, you can find links to all my socials in my YouTube channel. So if you just visit the YouTube channel, you could see the different links if you ever want to contact me or message me about anything. Thanks again and have